Hi, welcome to another episode of the Ninjutsu podcast. I'm your host, Don Rowley. This time around, we were going to talk about the ninja tactic of setting the enemy against each other. This is something that the ninja were known for, but it's not unique to the ninja, of course. If you've got my ebook on the 36 stratagems, you will know that it's number 33 is sowing discord among the enemy. You get the people against the government, different branches of the government against each other, this group of the civilians against that group of the civilians, while you sit back and basically let them destroy themselves. The ninja did this and was quite famous for it. Most people think of the ninjas running around in a black outfit, sneaking into places and stuff like that. The simple truth was is that the ninja, uh, according to the Bansen Shukai, you weren't a full-fledged ninja, did not deserve the term shinobi, unless you mastered two parts of ninjutsu. In There was Yang style ninjutsu, which was in Japanese would be in nin. Yin becomes in Japanese, in nin, and then there was Yang style yonin, and they weren't exclusive. Um, Again, the yin yang symbol kind of is a cycle. You got winter and summer, but of course summer eventually turns into winter, as we're finding out, and winter will eventually turn into summer. So the ninja might do something like low crawl through the outer perimeter of a fortress, and then when he got into the nice soft gooey center where if you're there, you've got to be there because the outside security is so firm that how can you get through it? Then they just stand up and walk around pretending to be a servant on a mission, bringing something somewhere. If you've ever watched the great movie True Lies, the beginning scene, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, goes through with a dry suit, zips it open, there's a tuxedo perfectly pressed after swimming in a dry suit, and he grabs a plate and enters a party as part of his mission. The other side of it, and you might go in as Yonin and turn into Inin. And there's a story in the Bansen Shukai of a man a ninja watching a household, figuring out how to get in. Rain starts, all the servants come out to grab the fireworks so it doesn't get wet and pulling it inside. He jumps in, grabs some firework, walks inside, and then hides, and then doesn't, come out until night. But most of the time, the ninja would be working as yonin. They would get into places, prefectures, other areas, other lands, well in disguise. This is, again, the shonin key has seven different types of standard disguises. It could be that they were a merchant of some sort. The ninja of Koga were famous for being medicine sellers. They would go to areas and sell medicines. Then there was things like religious pilgrims or shugenja, Yamabushi, who traveled around on religious pilgrimage. So they would be in disguise. They would be pretending to someone else. But while they were doing this, they had the opportunity to kind of like spread rumors and get people to, envy or against each other. In this part of the enemy territory, they might say that people over there were getting special favors, or that the Lord was allowing his men to violate women without any repercussions. And by spreading these stories and such, they would turn the enemy against each other so that it wasn't a unified front. And you can imagine the advantage of this. One of the things that the ninja did was, they would, sew a letter inside the collar of their outfit. If they were captured, they would say, hey, if you let me go, I'll let you, I'll give you something very important. And, the letter basically was from their employer to, let's say, the second-hand man to the warlord, that, the enemy warlord. And it was a plot to take over the land, in a coup d'etat. And if the ninja could get away with that and be released because he released this, fine. Even if they eventually killed the ninja, they probably would also kill the guy that the letters are supposedly addressed to. Setting the enemy against each other, of course, is very, very effective, and it's universal and timeless. And we've seen it in the modern age. I can give you a great example: Covington High School. If you remember that, it was about half a decade ago or so. And what happened was, in case you're just joining us, was there was a video that went viral very quickly of what appeared to be a bunch of kids, some of them wearing Make America Great Again hats, surrounding an elderly Native American with a drum and intimidating him. As it turns out, the Native American, with the drum, walked up to the kid with the MAGA hat and was just there in his face. So it was 180 degrees of what happened. And what happened then in America was a whole lot of finger pointing, a whole lot of people on talk shows in Congress saying, "How can we, how can we counter this? Where do we go wrong for this?" They were pointing their fingers at the president, saying, "If he fostered this culture of hate, if you voted for him, you were part of the problem." And it went on until the actual unedited version showed the truth. And what is not too well known about that case, I mean, we know that the kids had to go into hiding. We know there was death threats. They had to shut down the school. We know the chaos it caused, and can consider what it probably would have happened. Would have gotten worse if the unedited video hadn't become known. But what most people don't know is that the original video, the person that posted that, the IP address was from outside the United States. So somebody from outside of America posted this with the intent of setting Americans against Americans. And that's not the only case. I mean, in the 2020 election, they found, again, the same IP for two different things. One was supposedly a pro-Trump and one was supposedly a pro-Biden group. And by pro-Trump, I mean anti-Biden and pro-Biden, anti-Trump. Attack ads. And the idea was basically like whoever won, these rumors, these stories, which were not bound by being truthful, would linger. The stuff said about Biden, even after he won, still had some legs. And people still believe the stuff about Trump. This is a tactic that is very effective, very, very timeless, and I changed. I had a podcast I was going to do, but changed it at the last minute because in the last week, a week ago, last week, President Trump, future President Trump, past President Trump, will once again be, the president. He was declared the winner of the election. Within less than a handful of days, a very racist text went out, mass text to people all over the country. I mean, there was cases in Denver, there were cases on the West Coast, there was cases in the East Coast, in Texas, targeting black people and saying that, hey, you've been selected to be a house slave or to pick cotton, different messages, different, but they were targeted for African Americans. Most of the cases sound to be pretty young, and they knew the name and they knew the location, and of course they knew the ethnicity of these people. I have not heard, of if it was a masked, case like a phishing scam. We've all gotten those. Your package is here. You need to log on and give us your personal information to find out about it so we can deliver it. That's a mass shotgun type approach. To know the ethnicity and the names and the location, that's a step above. And yes, you can find stories on YouTube and online news articles. Go in the comment sections. There's plenty of people saying "Welcome to Trump's America." Um, I don't think so. I don't think this was anyone in America. Going from least likely to most likely, one, a bunch of racist pranksters decide to mess with African Americans. Going after kids really kind of shows that they knew what they were doing. Because I saw a channel by a black conservative, Second Amendment supporter, and his whole thing was like, "What if anyone shows up at my house to take me to pick cotton? They're going to find out why the Second Amendment exists in America." But kids, you let them know that they know about you by name, that they know approximately what part of the country they live in. That's going to freak them out a little bit and increase the damage down the line. Um, Again, the more likely than that is, again, this guy that I'm talking about, the podcaster, he and a lot of other people are thinking this is like what did it, the Jesse Smollett case. We've seen tons and tons of fake hate crimes, just to get people rallied against Trump and everyone else. That and a lot of people are on the right are thinking, yes, this is the case. This is a fake. This is someone that wants people to turn against Trump, and that's more likely the other case. But I don't, again, if that's a case of an American either being a racist prankster or doing a false flag operation, and they're in America, well, the FBI are out after them, and the FBI is very good at what it does. And if they were savvy enough to pull off this type of operation with the resources and the time put in, they must have considered that, at some point, they're going to get attention and, they're going to be looking at some serious heat on them. So, more likely than that, I'm thinking maybe 4chan. They do a lot of sick stuff like this. They're more technically savvy than most. They they just like messing with people. And if if being racist does it, then they'll do it. But the thing about 4chan is that they really don't keep their mouths shut. There's always, if there's a group of them getting together, somebody, the more people that know about, the more likely somebody's going to be screaming, hey, look what we did, ha 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 ha. So, okay. But most likely is a nation state. Again, just like the COVID in high school thing, someone from outside the country, because that's what they do. Again, there's rooms full of people in Moscow and Beijing and increasingly in Iran and North Korea that their entire job, they come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, they leave at 5 o'clock, and all they do is get on social media and spread, bots to spread stories and turn people against each other in America and in the West. That's probably the case. That's what I'm thinking. It's just a matter of resources and the ability to pull this off. Somebody again was able to customize messages so that the people can text with their names on it. In some cases, they said report to this place and to be picked up and to be a house slave, and it was an address close to where they actually were. It's not impossible for one or two people sitting around like, hey, let's prank them to do it. But again, a nation state would be much better able to do that, especially in the time frame. If Kamala Harris had won, these texts would be worthless. But but shortly after Trump was declared the winner, these things went out. So either somebody put this together real fast within like 72 hours, or they had been working on it for weeks and months and they pulled it out as when they could. And maybe in that case there was another plan in case Harris won that would do the same thing for the Republicans. uh, how did they get this information? Again, I'm thinking the best way would be if this is the Chinese, they basically have control of TikTok and you give away tons of information. I do not have TikTok because I actually read the user agreement and legally they have, I mean, it's an open door for whatever device you have. Um, and so they would know all this stuff. They would know where you are through, geocent, the GPS on your phone. They would know, what ethnicity you are because every time you did a selfie or something like that, the camera would go to them, all that stuff. But it doesn't have to be that. And that's the problem is that the FBI is probably going to, the best way of the FBI is probably go through all the recipients and see if they have anything in common. And with TikTok, well, try to find me a young adult in America that doesn't have TikTok. It's kind of like saying, they all drank milk as a kid. But again, this type of app would give the information, and they don't actually, and they don't actually have to have the app or run the app. They could be breaches. People, these apps, some apps, gather information and then they're breached and then put on the dark web. You'd probably have to pay for that information. Again, if you're talking about money, the prankster part of it kind of lowers in probability. Another way is, for quite simply, to buy it from the media site. Again, when you are when you sign up for Facebook, you sign away a lot of privacy. Every so often, somebody posts this stupid, I do not give permission to, share information, blah blah blah. It's like you sign that all away as soon as you hit the user agreement, and they sell that stuff. So again, again, that's if it was a prankster, that's probably the way they got this information. They go, okay, we need information on people of this ethnicity. You know, we need to know where they are, and then they would have to have the ability to basically automate things to customize locations and responses with people's names, which again, not impossible for a small group of pranksters or false flags things, but really a nation state is a lot more likely to be able to pull that off. So yeah, that if you look around, I'm watching the news, I'm getting more information, I'm trying not to be be set in my opinion, but really considering what happened with Covington from someone from outside the United States trying to set us against each other using almost the same exact tactics, I think the possibility is that yeah, it is a nation state, and this whole strategy of dividing people against each other within the United States is what they're going to do, and I don't think this is going to be the only one. I mean, we're looking at a few years, and I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of situations where people are going to just try to weaken the president, and and unfortunately, we are our own worst enemies in this case. If something confirms to our bias, we share the post without checking the facts. Um, Facebook, the algorithms basically promote posts and things, videos, whatever, that get the most engagement. And unfortunately, what gets the most engagement is things that outrage us. Um, Literally, thousands of people have died because of Facebook. Look up Sri Lanka and Myanmar. Yeah, some ethnic tensions were really high. The posts started getting really like fiery and calling for violence. And Facebook didn't have, monitors, admins that you could report to that could actually read the language in some cases. And as a result, there were riots. There were, people hunting down ethnic minorities. And yes, thousands of people have died just because Zuckerberg was greedy and he wanted, more, likes, more looks on the page so that they could sell more advertising value and sell more of your personal information, what your ethnicity and all that is. So yeah, it's in the end, folks, be prepared. It's going to be a really interesting next few years. The people in Beijing and Moscow are doing their best, and they're pretty damn good at their job. So maybe think about things before you respond. Even if even if it fits your worldview, question it because there's people again, rooms full of people, buildings full of people probably that show up 9 to 5 just getting you to hate your fellow American. Don't let them win. And that's it for this episode of the Ninjutsu podcast. If you know more information about these texts, please put them in the comment section. If you've got questions, if you've got other ways that you could think of people doing this, new scams that you think are coming across your radar, please contribute to the conversation. Subscribe, I guess, if you want, like, whatever. But yeah, feel free to share this because the more people know that this is probably from outside the country, the less likely it is that we are going to dance to Putin's or Xi's tune. Thanks a lot.